What do you fear? And how can you turn that fear into power? That's the topic of today's discussion. You do not want to miss it. Stay right there.
Welcome to Coffee with the Queens, empowering you to grow and protect your cash credit castle and kingdom. Have you ever heard the phrase, get your ducks in a row, and you feel like you haven't done that? We share learned lessons and practical advice to help guide you to a life of financial freedom. Empowerment is key, so grab your coffee and crown and let's get to it. Take it away, Queen Tammy.
Hello, hello, Queens. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. So today is an incredible topic that we're talking about. We're talking about kicking fears or getting fear out of your life, turning it into power. And we have some incredible guests today. So make sure you stick around, watch us on the YouTube channel or the Facebook page, the Digital Duchess Facebook page or YouTube channel. Make sure you're commenting because we always give away free stuff for those who engage the most. So let's get right into it, girls. What is it that you fear?
Ooh, there are different types of fear, right? I think one of the ones that my family and my husband used to make fun of me the most for was my arachnophobia. That is fear of spiders, for anyone that doesn't know. I would not even come into a room if I knew that there was a spider in it. I had symbols for a spider because I couldn't get the words out of my mouth, absolutely terrified. And I remember the first time that I had to do a production with a tarantula, and they kept this from me until I had makeup on. And they're like, by the way, this is what you get to do. You're going to step into the room. I'm like, yeah. And on the threshold is going to be a tarantula. Like, I'm sorry, what? I'm stepping over a what? Yeah. So there's this the worst possible representation of my fear at that time that I had to step over. I literally made myself sick. I threw up because I was so terrified. Interesting though, from that production. And then later, throughout the movie, they kept putting these things around me and scorpions. The scorpions I didn't even notice because I didn't know them then. But it was terrifying. And I guess through that submersion, it actually took my fear down a notch. But it took me a long time to actually get to the point where now that I'm in Texas, I have actually saved a couple of tarantulas from being run over.
Of course you have.
Right.
Took a while.
Amazing. Wow.
My husband actually is really afraid of spiders as well. Even the little bitty ones. They say, don't hurt it, just take them out. Here, let me help you. Right? It's so funny. Well, I have a fear. I don't know about anybody else, but I fear of losing my mom every day. I have anxiety over it. It's crazy. So we live together. We live in a big house, and she's always been a big part of me. And so she's my best friend. She's everything to me. And we have two suites right next to each other upstairs. And so when I don't hear her, moving around, it's like, are you okay? Every day. I know. It's tough. What about you, Kathy?
Well, now that I'm retired, I don't do a lot of public speaking anymore. But I remember my very first, I worked for the government for many years and I only did a couple of public speakings. But when I got my first job in the world of, profit making, it was for a market research company. And when I took the job, I did not know that most of the job or a lot of the job was actually public speaking. And I remember the fear I had to do this. And I would literally think, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But what I learned is it became a practice, get rid of the fear, because the more I did it, the less it became fearful. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, what we call how do you get rid of your fears. But public speaking, as we're going to talk about, it's like one of the number one fears there is. And it was definitely in my situation. So I found two things that helped me. Number one, if you're going to give a talk, start with a joke. Get people to laugh and you laugh with them. And all of a sudden, oh my God, you can exhale. And then you can breathe. And then you can start speaking. Yeah. And then it just became something that I did. And I did it so much that it just became natural. Mm-hmm. So then I think my other fear, which is today, my fear of pain for my cats. So my husband and my children laugh because whenever we take the cats to the vet, my husband always go with me. I literally turn my back in the corner and hope the cats are okay because I just can't stand the thought that these cats are going to be in pain. So that's my other fear. So,
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
And you had some research on this topic, didn't you, Kathy?
I did. So
Yes.
we did some research about fear and the fact that there are 5 types of fear that we found a reference from Dr. Carl Albrecht, and these were his 5 fears. Number 1, extinction. The fear of annihilation, of ceasing to exist. This is more than just a fear of death or how we might die. It strikes the very heart of our fear that we would simply no longer be. It's the panicky feeling we get if we look over the edge of a tall building or when we think too deeply about a deadly disease. It's the dark or flying. The second fear that he talked about was called mutilization or bodily invasion. It's really the fear of pain. It's the fear of losing a part of our body, having our body's boundaries invaded, or of losing a natural function. So again, his examples, spiders, snakes, going to the dentist, crowds, needles. The third fear he called the loss of autonomy. The fear of being restricted, confined, trapped, or suffocated. He calls it the fear of being immobilized, paralyzed, restricted, enveloped, and trapped. And when it's a physical fear, it's called claustrophobia. But our fear of being smothered, restricted, unable to take care of ourselves, are dependent upon others, can also apply to situations in our lives, relationships. His fourth fear was called separation, abandonment, or rejection. The fear of abandonment. We humans have a strong need to belong. This is my biggest fear. From a young age, I have feared upsetting people for fear of being rejected and or abandoned. So these are examples I think in today's world, it's the biggest example. That's why some of the times we might not want to publish something because we fear that we're going to get rejected. And finally, his fifth fear was called humiliation, shame, or worthlessness. And this is definitely my first fear, the fear of public speaking. He calls this the type of fear, the ego death, my identity, standing up there on that stage. He says, we all need to feel lovable, worthy of love, and of value in the world in order to have healthy relationships with others and with ourselves. So without that, we are nobody. And literally, this is where the supposed number one fear comes, public speaking. Those were the 5 fears.
Wow, that's amazing. I think my fear kind of aligns with yours, Sahila. So I constantly, as a mom, I constantly worry about my kids. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll wonder, oh my gosh, did my 21-year-old daughter make it home okay after dinner? Or, you have all these crazy thoughts running through your head, especially for my girls, and as opposed to, I'm also fearful for my boy, but something about the girls.
Yeah. I know I feel like I'm the mom when it comes to my mom, because when she's out at the casino, till like 6 a.m, and I'm texting her, where are you?
Oh my God.
Your mom's a partier.
Yeah, actually
I'm going to the casinos.
A year ago, I bought for all of my granddaughters a little device that you can carry on your keychain, and you push it and all of a sudden the alarm goes off. So no matter where you're walking, and I think actually at UC Berkeley, they require this on campus. So if you're a girl and you're on campus, you're walking around with these little, you just literally push it any place, because they had some issues at night with the girls on campus. So.
Wow, it's really interesting. The other theme I think that we were talking about here is that the immersion into it helps us to overcome it. And sometimes it's the fear of the unknown. And then once we immerse ourselves into it, it dissipates a bit, right? And we learn to live with it. And I know that one of my the other fear that I used to have in my 20s, because I had restarted my life over, and my credit was trashed because of certain things, and then I worked so hard at that I would wake up in the middle of the night and worry that payment didn't go through and it was going to ruin my credit again, and things like that, about financial worry, and which to that point, if anyone hasn't seen our Ducks in a Row show, go back to last week and watch that, because we have so many tips and tricks to help you get your ducks in a row. We want to bring you with us. So just till the end of this month, you can get in at a very low founder's price. So make sure you don't miss out on that. But my point is that I think the more we immerse ourselves into it, or we learn something, the unknown, we're afraid of what we don't know how to do. And once we immerse ourselves into it, I think that fear goes away, and that's a great thing to know and practice.
Because the topic being so, I put this out as being probably the most timely show that we've done in so many ways, because people are feeling so many different types of fear because of everything that is going on, from the pandemic to the upheaval in the Capitol and the new political environment that we're entering into. There's a ton of, even the economic and social situations that we have are really bringing up a lot of things for people. So I want to also let people that are watching know, if you would like to share this with someone, please do that. Like it, give us some comments. If you're commenting live, we'll be sure that we can give you some free stuff, because we look for the people that are going to be engaging us the most. And it's an opportunity to put some questions in there for the guests too, because we have two amazing guests today. We have an author that actually spent a year going through different fears every single day. And then we have some crazy Hollywood stuntman named Alan Robinson, who is going to be here talking about how stunt people actually make fear work for them and how we can do that too. So please, just another recommendation, share, let people know about the show. It's because of you that we are doing this, and it's because of you that we'll be able to reach more people. So we are inviting you to invite others.
And, I was so excited that this show was coming on too, that we were talking about fear, because again, like you were saying, in today's world, what's going on, it's the chaos, it's the uncertainty, it's the fear factor, right? And so how do we go over those hurdles, and really how to embrace that fear and get our power back? That's what it's about, for sure. And, yeah, that's what we're here for. We need to all talk about it, for sure.
Well, and the other example I was reading was somebody that was talking about this article and what it meant to him. And he said, what I found, my biggest fear was rejection, which is why some of the times I don't publish what I write, because I'm so fearful that other people won't find it valuable. And so he finally got over that fear, and now he's best-selling author. But that was his fear, rejection.
Mm-hmm. So that's a big one. That's a big one. Well, any second, we're going to have our first guest here. We ready for that?
Oh,
yes.
She was in our green room and she just went away for a minute.
Okay, we'll give her a second to get back. I know she sent a message saying, welcome to live, y'all. We'll get her back. And by the way, just for the record, you guys always make fun of me because I fall into y'all.
Y'all.
Here in Texas.
Love it.
I was watching, my girl crush that I was watching this morning, which is Gwen Stefani. And in the middle of her chatting, she said, y'all. And I was like, see? That's what happens when you hang out with people that say y'all.
That's because she's living in Oklahoma.
Yes. Well, Blake Shelton probably has a little something to do with the fact
Right?
That's right. That's right.
All right. I think we have our first guest back. She is back in. So let's get a move on so we can get to her wisdom. So she is the CEO and founder of Women Action Takers. And in 2015, Lynda Sunshine West faced one fear every day for a year. And in doing so, she gained an exorbitant amount of confidence and uses that confidence to make a difference on the planet. Her mission is to help 5 million women entrepreneurs share their voice with the world. Her tools are her collaborative books, podcast, magazine, and referral network. Everyone, let's give a nice round of applause to our guest, Lynda Sunshine West. There she is.
Hello.
Lynda.
Hi, ladies. First, I'm going to start with saying that I was born and raised in San Diego, California, and I say y'all all the time. It's just easier. It's like one word, right? You don't have to say everybody. It's like, so anyway. Keep it short and sweet. I didn't bring my tiara today.
I was going to say, where's your tiara?
Well, I have been social distancing for a year, and I haven't gone anywhere.
Well,
and that actually
very few days that we're not out of yoga pants. So
Yeah, there you go.
fear is a bit of a stretch.
You know, it's interesting though, because, you know, the topic today is fear. And, you know, being in this pandemic and, you know, in California, at least, you know, we're in lockdown again and again and again. And what's been curious to me is, you know, I'm a shy extrovert. So what that means is that as I'm approaching, I'm very shy, but once I'm there, I'm good. Right. So, so Hayla knows that I'm there. Right.
Mhm.
And so now I have this, am I going to be going through those same fears again when they open up the world and I'm allowed to go out there into the public? You know, how am I going to handle that? Because I don't really know. I only know what I've done and what I'm doing now. I don't know what the future is. So it's kind of interesting because that's what fear is all about. It's all about, you know, future and stuff.
Yes.
So I just thought I'd share that, because who knows how we're all going to react or respond when they do open up and we're allowed to be in public again. Like, I'm going to have to learn social skills again. What is that all about?
We all are, you know, we're going to have to actually look people in the eye for real.
And are we going to be afraid to actually hug them or, you know, shake their hand or something? What's going to happen?
It's going to be awkward, like going back to kindergarten,
like,
you know.
Do we stay distant? What?
Speaking of upbringing, Lynda, I understand that your background, your upbringing actually has a lot to do with your focus on fear. Can you share a little bit about that and what you know, what happened to you growing up?
Yeah, thanks for asking. You know, I grew up like a lot of people. I'm discovering, you know, it's funny as we share our story, we just discover that there's a lot more people like us. And so as I've been sharing my story, finding that, you know, I grew up in a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic household. You know, one of those households of, you know, children are seen, you should be seen and not heard, you know, that kind of thing. And because of the abuse and because of those words, you know, children should be seen, not heard, you know, go to your room, we don't want to hear from you, those kinds of things, I thought I didn't have any value. So at 5 years old, I, you know, packed up my bags and I'm like, I'm out of here, I'm moving. So, you know, like a lot of kids run away at 5, you know, like we run away, but I was gone for a whole week. And I had no intention of ever coming back home. But what I didn't know is my mom knew where I was. But here's what I love to share with people is, because you imagine yourself at 5 years old and you run away and nobody comes to get you. So what happened for me at 5 is it was solidified. They don't love me. They don't want me around. I don't have any purpose in my family. That's what locked into my brain and my whole being at 5 years old. And unfortunately, I carried that around with me for the next 46 years of my life, you know. So I ended up marrying somebody just like my dad, very abusive. 2 years, 2 kids later, I had a 14-month-old and a 4-week-old. I literally packed them up. I put my son on my hip, my daughter in her carrying case, a diaper bag over one shoulder, my purse over the other shoulder, and I walked out, literally, because I didn't have a car. So I just walked. I was like, I'm not repeating my mom's life.
But this time you were gone for more than a week, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah, for decades. I made a clean sweep, like I'm out of there, you know. But it's interesting how, you know, something in, you know, young in our lives at 5 years old, as I look back at it, I had a life coach who helped me see that, wow, look how strong and brave I was at 5 to run away. Yeah. It's like I was running away, but I was running away because I made a decision at 5. And then what happened was I was gone a week. When my mom brought me back home, I came home with my head down, literally, like I wouldn't look people in the eyes. I didn't look people in the eyes until I was in my 50s. And because I had so much fear. And so what happened, I'll just go fast forward to 51 years old. I hired a life coach. She helped me to discover, you know, who I am, how smart I am, how brilliant I am, how much I have to offer this planet. And so I started speaking my voice. And the very first time I did this was the most pivotal moment in my life. And that is that I was sitting in a conference room with about 12, 16 other women. We were at a workshop. And the lady putting on the workshop asked a question. And for the first time in my life, I'm 51 years old. First time in my life, I raised my hand. I'm like, I got the answer. I never did that before because I was always scared to say anything because people might judge me. They might see how stupid I am. So I said something and I sat down and I was trembling like, oh my God, I actually said something out loud in front of people. Well, the 2 ladies sitting next to me said, That was brilliant. Will you repeat it? I want to write it down. And those words right there totally knocked out of the park all the previous 51 years of my life of being told how, stupid and ignorant and all these negative things about me. And I said to myself, from this moment forward, I will share my voice every opportunity I get. And I haven't stopped, and I will not stop. Yeah, so that's the short story. That's the short version.
I love it.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's a great lesson for everybody that feels that they have more to say, but they're not saying it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sharing your voice is actually bringing what you have to the world. And you didn't discover it. I want to invite you and everyone listening to realize that you just remembered who you were.
Mm-hmm.
Because to do that.
And I want to point out also that, procrastination is some type of fear as well. And when you have enough, you're going to do something about it. And that's what happened when you took your 2 kids. You had enough. And when you have it up to here, you will do something about it. So I think that's where the procrastination comes into play. But then again, when it overflows, you're done. So good.
And I think the key here is, how do you get yourself, like now because I've done a lot of work on myself, it's been 6 years now. And how do you get yourself to the point where you don't have to wait till you're fed up to do something? Mm-hmm. And that's what the beauty is. Like when we're not being fueled any longer by our fear. So I left because I was fearful. I was fearful for my life. My ex-husband was very abusive, and physical and mentally. And so I had enough, like you said, Sohaila, but how can we get ourselves to the point where we're like, oh, you know what? This isn't working for me. So I'm just going to make a change. I'm going to change my life. I only get one chance at this. I only get one chance at this life. So what am I going to do right in this moment that's going to change my life for the better? When I get to the end, my mom, 2 weeks before she died, she's like, I had so many regrets, things I didn't do. She stayed with my dad until, he died. And her first words when he passed away, very first words, I was standing right next to her. Thank God the bastard is dead.
Wow.
Those are her first words. Yeah.
Right.
So you imagine living 55 years of pain, anguish, and, all these negative emotions. Mm-hmm. And so she said to me, make sure you live the rest of your life with no regrets.
Exactly.
Was that what drew you to spend a year every day facing a fear?
No, it was, I worked with my life coach. So that my mom passed away about 10 years ago. And I worked with my life coach about 6 years ago. And while in the process, actually, a lot of things that I do are just kind of like, I guess I'll try this, And so what happened was I worked with her. She helped me to remember who I was, how strong, how brave I am, to start living that way. And I finished working with her the end of 2014, like in November. So I had December by myself. I didn't have that help, that life coach to help me change. So on January 1st of 2015, I woke up that day and I said, I'm really addicted to change. I got so used to every week working with her, just changing who I am. And so what happened was I woke up that morning and said, I got so addicted to change. I want to keep changing. So I'm going to face a fear every day this year. And so I did. And that's how it came about. It was totally on accident. And no, I didn't journal it. People always ask me, did you journal it? Because I'm just not I didn't think I would do anything with it. I'm just thinking like, I'm changing my own life.
But you did. You wrote a book from it.
I did. My mentor said, you need to write a book. I was like, oh, really? It was a fear of mine. I didn't want to write a book because
Good, and that's why you had to do it.
Exactly. That's what he said. You need to write a book because there's somebody that needs to hear your story.
So did you choose a different fear? So you didn't have a journal. So you basically, how did you identify your fears? How did you prioritize? I mean, how did you come up with this 365 days of fears?
Well, every morning this is my commitment to myself. First of all, I don't do New Year's resolutions because I break every single one. So instead of doing a resolution, I decided to do a commitment, So my commitment was that every morning, the first thing when I wake up, before I even got out of bed, I would lay in bed and I would say it out loud. And at the beginning, my husband was like, that's really weird. And he got used to it after 365 days, but I'd go, what scares me? I would just say, what scares me? And I would just lay in bed and wait. And this is my commitment. I couldn't get out of bed until the answer came. Because when we ask ourselves questions, our brain starts to search for an answer, right? So whatever was the fear I had to face that day. And there weren't 365 different fears, because some of my fears were so deep rooted in the fear of judgment, which is the number one fear.
Yes.
So they say people are more scared to speak on stage than they are of dying, right? That's a saying we hear.
Yes.
Or, if people are scared, and I don't believe that's the case at all. I don't think they're scared to speak on stage. They're scared of the judgment that they might get when they speak on stage.
Yes.
So it's really the fear of judgment.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had a lot of fears. There weren't 365 different fears, but I had a fear every single day.
What was the biggest one, if we could say biggest? What is the biggest one that you tackled? Was that it?
Well, the biggest one, well, the fear of judgment is a huge, all-encompassing fear. So the biggest, the one I should say, the one that stands out the most to me, the fear that day that stood out the most to me was to talk to a stranger. Again, I'm a shy person. So, I'm talking to you now, you're like, she's not shy. Well, it's because I've got myself ready to come on here. I'm mentally ready. And so the fear was to approach a stranger in Starbucks. I'm afraid to approach strangers in Starbucks. So today I'll approach a stranger. So what happened was I went to the Starbucks and it had to be a stranger, not more people than one, because I'm better at approaching groups than I am one-on-ones. I don't know why, but I am. So I walked into Starbucks and all the people were matched up. And I'm like, oh crap, I can't even face my fear because there's nobody here that's by themselves. Oh my God. So I waited for 10 minutes, and that's 10 minutes of agony, right? You're going to face your fear. And so finally this guy walks in. I'm like, oh good, my victim. I mean, that's, my subject. And so so he ordered his Starbucks and he sat down. And I was like, okay, here it goes. And I was hyperventilating. I'm going to approach this. This is a fear I have, So I walked up and I said, excuse me, sir. My name is Linda and I'm facing a fear every day. My fear is to talk to a stranger. Is it okay if I have a seat with you? And he's like, okay. So I literally sat there with him for 5 minutes, had a very short conversation. And I stood up and I thanked him. I was so glad I faced the fear.
How awesome. So see, he was nice. Was there a little piece of you that was saying, what if he's not nice?
Oh, that was the whole piece of me was saying that. 100%.
Oh my God.
I never thought he'd be nice. I always, just thought he would say, no, you're weird, all this stuff. I'd be like, okay.
Was there a big fear, going on a hot air balloon or something like that? Was there a huge fear like that?
Well, what's funny, and what's funny is I didn't have a whole lot of money that I wanted to spend in bungee jumping and jumping out of planes and all this stuff. So fortunately,
with the next guest.
Fortunately, yeah, exactly. So fortunately, those fears never popped into my head. So the fears were all really, as I look back at them, so many of them were just judgment related, speaking on a stage, being interviewed on a podcast, sending a text message to somebody, inviting them to be on my show. I used to be scared to invite people to be on my show because what if they say no?
That is sometimes, do you feel that sometimes that is the underlying fear that really holds people back the most?
Yeah, I really do. Well, I can only speak for myself, of course, and the clients I've worked with, but really it's that fear of people saying no or just the being judged. It's really interesting how society has made us, I walked in here and I'm like, oh dang, I don't have my tiara. I could have been nervous about that. Previously I would have. Now I'm like, oh what? I don't have a tiara, so why would I wear one? So
you can be a queen and not have a tiara.
That's right. That's it. I did wear lipstick today.
So tell us a little bit about the organization, Women Take Action.
Yeah, the Women Action Takers. Oh my gosh. I started that about 2.5 years ago, because what I was, realized throughout my own personal development journey is that, people all the time I hear it, and I used to say it all the time too. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. I'm dreaming about this. I'm manifesting this. I desire this. I'm praying for this. We do all this thoughts, these words, but if they come to us, we might not see them because we're not open to what they are, like what's really in front of us. And so it's that taking action step that we have to take in order to make things happen. So I created Women Action Takers. It's kind of funny because a lot of times some of the things that I'll create are because it's what I need.
Sure.
I needed to be around women action takers. So I created Women Action Takers so that I would attract women who are action takers. So I could be it's like this whole round robin, right? So
Yes.
so I'm excited about it because Women Action Takers, it really is about, again, taking that action. I've helped, hundreds of people do live videos. I've helped, hundreds of people getting their first opportunities to speak on stage. I interviewed stars on the red carpet. I know your next guest, he'd be like, big deal. But, to some people, to me, that was a big deal to be on the red carpet and interviewing a star.
Right.
And again, it was about the action steps that I took in order to make that happen. The opportunity showed itself to me, and then I seized that opportunity. So oftentimes opportunities are here and we let fear stop us from grabbing it and just doing it, because most time, I say probably 99% of the time, when I face a fear, I'm so proud of myself that I did it.
Yes.
So why not walk?
Should be.
Yeah.
Right.
Why not walk around proud of ourselves all the time?
Of course.
It's a good thing.
That's a good way to be.
So Lynda,
That's a good way to be.
you said you took certain actions. You take certain actions to sort of prep yourself. Can you talk us through what you tell yourself as you're to face your fear?
So first, I created my power word, and I call it, I'm not sure the right word for it, but for me, it's called a power word. It's that word that gives me that chutzpah to walk into a room, right? And so my word is Shazam.
Nice.
So first, I created a word because when we create a word that causes an emotion and a feeling within inside of us, and we use that word, our memory goes back and it picks up on that positive vibe. I love that word. It makes me giggle. And when I giggle, I feel good, right? So that's my word. So a lot of those fears that I faced were going to networking events. When I met Sohaila in person, it was at a networking event. And I got to tell you, I was so nervous. She came up to me and I was like, oh my God, Sohaila is talking to me. She's so famous and popular. And why is she talking to me? I had all this judgment stuff going on in my own head. Right. But so when I go to a networking event, as an example, especially if I'm scared to go, and that happens so many, hundreds, I've been to so many networking events. And because I was scared, I make myself go. So as I'm driving there, I decide, what is my purpose for going and what do I want to get out of it? Why am I going? What do I want to get out of it? And then I decide, okay, I'm going there because I want to connect with people. And then what do I want to get out of it? And this was always my backup, my go-to was, I want to meet 2 incredible women today. I never went to a networking event to make a sale or to talk about my business. I just went to meet incredible people. And that took a lot of pressure off of me. And it was just I'm there with my blinders on just to find 2 incredible women. How easy is that, right? So I would psych myself up. And then I got to tell you though, one time I went to this networking event and I sat in the parking lot for the whole event. I never went inside.
Aww.
And then I drove home.
Yeah.
And then I was so disappointed in myself. And I didn't want that anymore.
I've done that.
Yeah. Oh, you have?
Yes.
Yeah. Raise your hand in the chat if you've done that. Go ahead and give us that little hand raise.
Yeah, exactly. I've done that.
Yeah. It's there's, what do we do to counteract that? So that was before I faced my year of fears, by the way. So now what I do again is I psych myself up. I'm going to this networking event. I'm going to meet 2 really amazing people. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get there. And I would say words to myself about excited. I never use the word scared. fearful, I always say excited. No matter what it is, I am so excited. People will see I say excited all the time. It's because it's a great word to get me into that happy and positive emotion feeling. So anyway, I'm driving to the event, psyching myself out, and I get there, stop my car, put my keys in my purse. I look in the mirror and I go, Shazam!
Love it.
I laugh and I have positive energy. I get out of the car and I walk in as if, when I show up, I look like I'm extremely confident, because at that point I am, because I psyched myself up for it.
Thank you so much, Lynda. That's something that people at home can do. And you know, you actually found a way to deal with it. And for me to get over that, I also, you know, I did something similar, but I had to hire, as you did, I sat with a coach. That's another great thing to help people that are watching or listening to get over fears, or do what you did. You surround yourself with more people that are looking to take action. So you go with them, you know, you lead them and you go with them at the same time. So that's beautiful. It's who you surround yourself with, I think, a lot of times. So
yeah,
thank you for being here with us. And if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, learn more about what you do and what you offer, how would they do that?
They would go to womenactiontakers.com. And I want to share, because I just something I wrote down this morning. And because, like I mentioned, I created the Women Action Takers, right? Yes. And oftentimes we're looking for something that will, give us that confidence or whatever it is. And so I wrote this down today. I'll create a meme later, but don't wait for it. Create it. Create that environment you want. Create I decided 6 years ago, I'm going to spend the rest of my life having as much fun as possible, hanging out with positive and uplifting people who are making a positive impact on the planet. And that's my personal life's mantra. So what am I doing? I'm creating environments where I bring those people to me. So create the life that you want, whatever that is, just decide. Right. But yeah, so it is womenactiontakers.com. And I have all kinds of things. I do networking events. I'm putting a symposium, going to put together a magazine pretty soon here. Yes. Launching my podcast next month. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I'm there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. We got so much from that. We really appreciate you being here and making your positivity part of our day.
Thank you so much for having me. And I know I rambled a lot, but I couldn't help myself. It was like, I love this topic.
It's because you're passionate. We like that. That's a good thing.
Thanks for having me, ladies.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Lynda. Bye.
We're about to move into our second guest here. Did we lose Sohaila and Kathy? Oh, we got, okay, there. Kathy, you're here. Tammy, you're back. All right.
Right.
So Tammy, do you want to go ahead and let's just, jump into our next guest?
Yes. So this guest is quite phenomenal. We are so happy that he could make an appearance with us. So Hollywood stuntman and stunt coordinator Alan Robinson is going to be here with us. He is a 2-time SAG Award nominee, as well as a Tourist World Stunt Award nominee, and has been indoctrinated into the Hollywood Stuntmen's Hall of Fame. With over 175 films and TV shows under his belt, he's had the opportunity to work in trusted relationships with some of Hollywood's greatest actors, writers, directors, and producers. From Spielberg to Tom Hanks, Clint Eastwood to Will Ferrell, Alan Robinson has had a history of co-workers as diverse as the blockbuster titles he's credited with. He's done it all, from crashing cars, motorcycle stunts. Oh, it's just fear is running through me as I say this. Fire burns, fights, high falls, and even performed a record bungee jump from a hot air balloon and flown a rocket belt. Wow. Okay, so it seems he may have a few things to share about fear and making it work for you. Our queen Sandra sits down with Alan, who, by the way, is contractually obligated to say yes to her, since they've been married for over 15 years. So we're going to go ahead. Oh, Sohaila joined us just in time. Our new guest is just about to join us. So everyone, put your hands together and give it up for Alan Robinson. Let's take a look.
Hello, Alan Robinson.
Hello, Sandra D.
This is a little different, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So just for the record, I am in Austin. You, however, are not sitting in another part of our house. You were actually in South Carolina right now.
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, to be exact.
Charleston, yes. Continuing, of course, with this fantastic career that you have, which most people would look at a stuntman and think that you are fearless. And I know that that isn't true. This is actually one of the topics that you speak on. So what is your definition of fear in regards to what it is that you do?
You know, fear is what keeps you safe. When I sense fear, I check all my faculties. I check everything, make sure everything's good. People come up to me and say, "Hey, I could be a stuntman. I'm fearless. I'm not scared of anything." Most of the guys are like, "Well, you know, you just said the wrong words. You should be afraid, because fear, like I said, it's what keeps you safe. That's what makes you do your self checks and make sure you're doing it without getting killed or hurting somebody else."
What's one of the first times that you can remember in your entrepreneurial career that you helped people overcome fear?
Well, the first time it's probably back in 1990, I started a bungee jumping business, and I needed to train bungee jump masters how to take people bungee jumping without them backing out, because if they backed out, I would lose revenue. When they signed up, they wanted to come out and experience this really cool adrenaline-filled experience, but my job was to get them through this experience, because I believe that the real thrill is in having done it. It's a hormone cocktail. It's a terror followed by more terror, then elation.
Which sounds like a true adrenaline junkie as you're saying that.
Self-confessed adrenaline junkie, but at least I know who I am. Not everybody's an adrenaline junkie, and I get it, and that's great because we're all different. But everybody can take the same steps. Everybody experiences fear.
Something that I wanted you to share, a story about you working on a movie called The Kingdom.
And what I was doing was a cannon roll. And a cannon roll is there's a cannon mounted inside my vehicle. In the vehicle, we've done all the safety precautions and made it safe as it can be. And I have to drive the car and then slide it sideways at the designated spot and then fire a cannon, which shoots a projectile down into the pavement. And that lifts the car up, and the car flips and rolls and tumbles down the street. I had
this is what most people try to avoid. I just want to point out.
That's serious, because that's a good example, because your natural instinct is to avoid getting hurt. And as a stunt guy, I have to turn that off and go, okay, you know, maybe you might get beat up a little bit. And
okay, Sandra, I have to stop it there, because how do you do? You are married to this man. This is your husband. Okay. How do you deal with this personally, knowing he's doing these terrifying things every day?
People ask me if I get scared with him doing this. And if I were to think about it, of course, my gut reaction would probably be related to that fear of some sort, worry, which could be the same thing. But what I've discovered is that it doesn't help him for me to worry about those things. I know that he is very good at what he does. And so my confidence in his skill and his ability and his preparation, his attention to detail, which is why he gets paid so well for what it is that he does, it's his expertise. So rather than undermine the positive energy that he is putting towards this with my fear, I just keep my mouth shut and just kind of go, okay, he's doing the best that he can, and that's pretty freaking good, and trust that he's going to be safe, knowing there are things that can go wrong, but why focus on that? That's just wasted energy, and it doesn't help him at all.
I love what you're saying. I'm a military mom, so my son goes off to war, gets deployed, and I worry and I'm fearful. And at first I used to communicate those feelings to him. And finally he just said, Mom, I am very well trained. You know, I'm happy to be there. I'm happy to be serving, and just stop saying it, you know, just so there's a sort of a fine line between being fearful for someone you love and supportive, right? So then I just turned it all into support. Like, you know, when I used to drop my kids off to their game or whatever, it'd be like, be the ball, just do it, you know, like just do it. And it's, so I'm doing the same thing, you know, for Joe, like, you go get him, Tiger, like, you know, let's. So it's really interesting how you, you know, you take a look at that and
Yes.
and
Well,
really.
he goes on in a little bit to give us something that we can actually take and run with too. So
Awesome. Well, let's dive right back into it.
well, I think that's our learning out of this lesson, is looking at something that you did like this, that took the ladder that you talk about, the doing the small things all the way up, I think can sometimes come from experience in your field. You've been doing this for so many years at this point that when somebody gave this opportunity to you, you kind of knew all of the things that led up to it so that you were able to do this.
Yeah, it's a culmination of years of experience and in training yourself to have this intense focus for momentary intense focus. You have to cancel out everything else around you and just focus on the business at hand, not the consequence.
Quite often the consequence that we think of is something that is not good, right? So we're focusing on the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's why they focus on a positive outcome. And it's like the earlier story I said, you know, it's a, you know, hormone cocktail, you know, going bungee jumping or skydiving, people, you know, people challenge themselves and go and do those things, or if it's a roller coaster or whatever it may be. You know, we do these things that scare us intentionally, but not necessarily for that moment of that fear. It's for the afterwards, that afterwards of, hey, I did this, a sense of accomplishment at work, asking for that raise, you know, that holds people back because they're afraid. Asking that special person out on a date, or you know, things like that.
You have a quote that you have that says, when the end credits roll, will you have lived life to the fullest? As a question to make people think about the outcome and not the fear that they're dealing with right now. And again, it's when the end credits roll, will you have lived life to the fullest? So, Mr. Robinson, do you think that when your end credits roll, you will have lived life to the fullest? I'm going to turn it around on you.
Absolutely. I'm really thankful that I haven't let a lot of things get in my way of at least trying, because you know, you don't know if you can do it unless you try, and lots of times fear gets in the way, and by being able to control that fear sure does empower you.
What are you working on currently, and where can people find you and your work right now?
Working on season 2 of Netflix Outer Banks. Other recent things you can see me in, Tom Hanks's Greyhound, which was on Apple TV, Apple Plus. I doubled Tom in that. Doubled Clint Eastwood in The Mule. I think it's still out there, kind of popular movie, The Mule. And I've done a whole bunch of episodes of Fear the Walking Dead. Isn't that funny? Fear the
Yes.
Walking Dead. We're talking fear, but
thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us on Coffee with the Queens.
oh, thank you so much, Sandy, for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's great.
So I have to get now.
What? What's Ayla?
I have to get Netflix now.
Outer Banks.
Oh, that if you go back and say
popular.
you can buy a family program and then 6 people for the price of one. Don't forget that.
There's
Yeah.
a money
I
to
can
it
actually
there.
invite you to my Netflix.
Is he on Amazon Prime?
I don't know if that show is. It might be. I actually don't know. It might be.
I don't think it
Yeah.
is. I think
And
it's on
today-
Netflix. I watch it. I'm addicted to. I love that show. That
It's good. Today, interestingly enough, he is driving a vehicle in a near head-on collision for the show.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So when you said, do you get worried? I had my instant reaction when he told me what he was doing, and it wasn't a positive word or two that came out of my mouth. And it wasn't bad words. It just wasn't you know, it was like, I don't want to hear that, I think is what I said. And he goes, and it disturbed him. He goes, I don't need to hear you say those things. And I'm like, oh, it comes right back to what Tammy, you and I were saying, that our fears can actually affect other people and get in their way. And so instantly I, you know, rescinded that and, you know, changed the subject into a more positive, you know, change that whole topic into something more positive. But yes, our fears can actually stop the people that are close to us as well. So I thought that was a really good point that he said. And again, he said something that was similar to what Lynda said, that it's the idea of having done it. You know, it's getting to, I did this, I accomplished this, which is at least not spending like her mom had all those regrets at the end of her life. And what a tragic thing that really is, to leave any gifts or any opportunities that were given to you unopened.
And I love that he said that you have to at least try. You have to at least try. And so many of us stop before we even try because of fear. So if you could just step into the try mode, I think, you know, it can urge you and motivate you to just finish and get through it.
I don't actually like the word try. I say do.
Just do.
I'm with you, Sahila. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes,
very
that's
good.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anything to give away today?
Empowerment book.
Yes.
Ooh, that's appropriate.
Yes.
Very, very much so. Let's see who we have commenting with us here today. We have a new guest that's been commenting with us today. Catherine Wickman. Zacharias. Okay, Catherine. So we've got an empowerment book. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being there with us today. And hopefully you've learned got some incredible takeaways. And we'll send us your email, or I guess we can.
It's an ebook, and so we'll send it right to her.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Thanks for joining us today, Catherine. Awesome.
And our quote for today comes from Henry Ford, and it is, one of the greatest discoveries a man or woman, I'll put that in, makes, one of his greatest surprises is to find that he can do what he was afraid he couldn't do.
Appropriate.
Put that up on your mirror when you're getting ready in the morning. When you're facing those fears for 365 days, what an interesting challenge that was.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that, you know, you're committed to doing them, you know, commit to face those fears once and for all. Don't procrastinate, just do it.
Yeah, though that she didn't allow herself to get out of bed until she had decided what it was that she was going to tackle.
I wonder how long she sat in bed. I mean, did she?
I'd be there until 4 in the afternoon.
I'm still waiting.
I have a fear of breakfast. I'm not kidding. Oh, that's silly. But another opportunity here, too, to invite people to the Ducks in a Row series. Tammy, do you want to give a quick little re-invite to that? And then we'll sign off.
Absolutely. So, everyone, if you are willing to join us, we decided this is the year we're going to get our ducks in a row. In other words, we're going to get our credit beefed up, just face our fears and do what we need to do to get our lives in order. Credit, castle, cash, kingdom, start an extra, money source. So we all believe in passive income sources. So that's part of our program. Taking a look at mortgages, your home, making sure that you're using your home as a leveraging your biggest asset instead of making it a burden for you. Protecting your kingdom, things like your family trust. There's lots of tips and tricks in here. I mean, we're all professionally licensed people and coaches that are going through this ourselves. And we wanted to bring a few select group of you to join us. So if you text this number here, you text the word ducks to that number just until the end of the month. It saves your spot for only $27 a month. We have courses in there and this private Facebook community that you can join us and get your ducks in a row right alongside us and have us coach each other and empower each other through it this year to really level up.
Do it. We want you with us.
Yes, it'll be
Well,
fun.
as of now, a big thank you to our guests, and thank you who are watching. Even if you're watching this afterwards, you can still comment and we will get back with you. Sign up to Ducks to join our series, Get Your Ducks in a Row. There's a lot of action-oriented steps that we're going to be sharing with you. So we're super excited about that. To use Lynda's word, excited. It's all our word too, I think.
Yeah.
So for now, we're going to say goodbye. We'll see you next week. We have another incredible guest. We're going to be really taking a look at where 2021 is going to be taking us, I guess you could say, because there's so many changes, there's so much uncertainty. And Sean Cassidy is going to be joining us again as a fantastic guest because he is in the know. So we're super excited about having him. For now, everyone, have an awesome, blessed day. We are signing off. Bye.
Bye.